What's up? Hey, what's good? What's poppin'? I am MsBerry. Welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you guys for sliding through and coming to kick it with me. As you guys can see from the title, this is something new. I've never reacted to anything of Joe Rogan. So, I've been on the Candace journey, getting to know Candace and everything. So I came across this video, the incident that made Candace Owens a conservative. So I'm pretty interested. I'm not gonna do too much talk. Let's get into it. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and press the play button.
You're a very popular, what I would call conservative thinker.
Yeah.
But you're very young.
I am.
Like, how did this all happen? How did you become this Fox News personality?
How old is Candace, by the way? Because that I do not know. I feel like I'm going slow a little bit, or I'm asking y'all like y'all can talk back to me right now.
Conservative thinker.
Yeah, I mean, I just launched a YouTube channel and
Oh, fucking YouTube.
yeah, YouTube where magic
My
happens.
boy.
YouTube's a strange place.
It's as strange as it
another
gets.
strange place. Yeah.
Well, it's the internet. And the
It's the
internet's
internet.
as strange as
Yeah,
it gets.
strange things happen on the internet. But yeah, I was really passionate. I understood. I had studied for it sounds strange, but I spent a year underground, studying politics once I had my red pill moment, if that's what you want to call
Well,
it.
explain that, because you used to be a liberal.
Right.
I
And
hear
then
that.
you became a conservative.
I hear that red pill. Y'all don't scream at me for pausing like this, but I hear that red pill term a lot. Some of you guys in the comments said, "Oh, you've been red pilled," and yeah, so
That's correct.
definitely needs
So
to
what
be
was
died.
it?
So the story really starts with high school, I guess. You know how things can happen to you in life and they don't make sense when they happen. You're like, why God me? And then you get a little older and you're like, this makes perfect sense.
Right.
So I was the quote unquote victim of a hate crime when I was in high school.
When you say quote unquote victim, you
Because I
don't
hate
think
the word
you're a
victim. No, I hate the word victim. And and again, I can see why early on I've sort of developed this mentality that there's no value in being a victim, and people rush to call people a victim. They rush to call somebody the
Okay.
aggressor.
So how do you describe it? That you experienced a hate
I
crime?
experienced something that was labeled a hate crime. I wouldn't even call it a hate crime. I think we live in a label-obsessed culture, and before we seek to understand what happened, we seek to
Put it in a box.
yeah,
So what happened?
someone has to be a demon and someone has to be an angel.
Right.
So what happened was I received some voicemail messages from about 4 kids, and that the language was pretty strong. It was like, we're gonna tar and feather your family, we're gonna put a bullet in the back of your head like we did to Martin Luther King, N-word, N-word, N-word.
And you received these on your phone?
On my cell phone, yeah.
How'd they get your
Wow.
phone number?
Well, there was a prank phone call, so I didn't know. I was 4 male voices, and I was in high school at the time, and I was like, okay, I cannot think of 4 human beings that want me dead that would say we're
Right.
gonna put a bullet in the back of your head like we did to Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, naming
Where'd you go to
off.
school? Where were you? What part of the country?
Stanford High School in Connecticut.
All right, guys. So I'm sorry, a whole different phone was ringing. So I kind of went back a little bit in the video so we can just get out. No interruption.
Connecticut's on a shithole.
It's a running joke. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I
Right.
always shit on Connecticut. I have my buddy Tommy Jr. He lives in Connecticut, and I'm always telling him, dude, you got to move out of Connecticut. And it became this terrible running joke where I talk about that Connecticut's the worst state in the country.
Have you actually
It's not.
been?
Yeah, a bunch of times. I
Yeah.
used to work there all the time.
Where? What city?
Well, I used to work in all over Connecticut when I was doing stand-up. I would drive from Boston into
Why is that
Connecticut.
there?
I
Yeah.
did a lot
Thank
of gigs in
you.
Hartford. I did gigs.
Hartford is a
Yeah,
shithole.
it's a shithole.
Bridgeport
Yeah.
is a shithole.
Shout out to Marlon Starling Jr. though.
Yeah.
He was a boxer that came out of Hartford.
Yeah.
Big time boxer. Marlon Starling. But when you were in high school,
Right.
somebody started doing this prank call and shit on you, and was this?
It was all in one night.
It was all in one
Yeah,
night.
it was 4 voicemails.
Was this tied to a boyfriend?
No,
or
so
a girl
I
was
was
jealous?
at a boyfriend's house when I got the calls, and I just put it to silent because it was blocked number. So I was I
Right.
didn't think anything of it. And then when I listened to it, it was some pretty horrific stuff. I definitely cried. I was 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
That's
next day
just
at school, I took
crazy.
this philosophy class, and I don't know what the topic was. I don't know what prompted me to raise my hand and introduce what had happened last night as a segue. Maybe I just needed to get off my chest, but the teacher spazzed out and was like, get up, we're going to the principal's office, you have to report this. He brings me into the office. The principal freaked out. Like she just like, the language was like, you know, it was shocking, you know? And then she called like the resource officer, and then like, the next period of my life was like a blackout, because it turned out that 3 of the kids I had never even met. Like this was like maybe some kids that had their first beer. One of the kids I was like friends with, but we were arguing because he was upset that I was like spending so much time with my boyfriend.
Oh,
but I didn't.
that's
But he's gay. Like it wasn't like he just was like jealous. Like, you know, like just like I used to hang out with him every day. Started hanging out with my boyfriend. It was like a stupid thing.
Maybe he wasn't 100% gay.
Yeah, no, he's 100% gay, from what I'm told. But yeah, so then
he just got petty,
yeah,
and jealous,
and then
so
it was like, here are my
started
3 friends, and they were all going to get drunk and call this black girl. And you know, it's easy to say awful things into like this. Like, if you don't have to look at a human being,
right.
like it's easy to say awful things. But unfortunately for me, one of the people in the car happened to be the current governor of Connecticut's son.
Oh.
So this turned from like some kids prank called to like said some awful things to like front page of the newspaper. Throughout the entire state of Connecticut, a little bit in New York.
Oh, wow.
NAACP outside of my school. It was like this situation that was, talk about outrage culture, my first like introduction to outrage culture and the things that sort of formed my thoughts. Like, this was a very formative experience in my life. Which to me, it was non-political, but it was like my life wasn't mine. Like I went from like sitting down I was watching Talladega Nights with my boyfriend, to being the most discussed person in the state of Connecticut. And what was interesting about it was just that, because it was the governor of Connecticut's son that was in this car, they had to get the FBI involved to determine the authenticity of the, like maybe she called herself, right? He, instead of just saying like, yes, it was my son, he actually let the FBI investigate for 6 weeks and waited for his son to get arrested 6 weeks later. You know what I mean? Like,
did his son deny it?
I just want to see if they could get away with it, because this is politics. You know what I mean? Like, can we get away with it? Is it plausible for us to get away with it? You know, so 6 weeks of the entire state. I like left school. People were like fighting on my behalf, fighting.
You left school? You like, I'm gonna take a break?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just
Senior
like
year?
That's just crazy. I just don't understand. Like, do people feel good just, you know, just in general, just doing things like that to people, harassing people, like, because their views are different or this or that? Like, what do you get out of that? Seriously.
Yeah.
Damn.
This was just like, it was like a monstrosity of a situation. And it was one of those things where, like, literally, like, letters to the editor, it'd be like moms, like, talk about, you know, outrage culture, right? Like, I don't believe, Candace, like, this happened. This girl, I believe she called herself. Like, you're like, I'm just looking for attention one night, and I just decided to say I was going to hang my family from a tree.
Isn't it funny that someone would even have an opinion on that?
It's bizarre. Like,
I don't believe her.
Who even writes letters to the editor?
Right.
Like, the whole thing is weird retrospectively, right? Like, I don't believe her, but that is what, like, life is about, right? Like,
that same lady is probably about to write a YouTube comment right now. I don't
I
believe you
still don't believe her. Yeah.
This is how you got on fucking Fox News.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was the situation that, like, was just completely out of my control. And then as quick as it happened, these kids got arrested, and then as quick as it happened, it was over for, like, everyone, but not for me or these kids, right? Like, so I never wanted these kids to get arrested. Like, if no one, like, this whole situation was taken out of my hands. People thought I didn't go to the police. Like, my teacher went to the police. It turned into the zoo. These kids were labeled publicly racists, right? The youngest kid in the car was 14. I'm not comfortable with ever labeling a 14-year-old racist, right? Or any of these kids racist. These are kids. And in my opinion, adults that fail to act like adults, and adults that fail to take a step back and say, okay, what would prompt these kids to do this? Why is it so easy to be mean, right? Why is it so easy nowadays for children to be mean? And no one, to me, like, when I really thought about that, I went through like 5 years of like anorexia because of the situation.
Because of that one call, those 4
and I was
calls.
the victim. Yeah. And
wow.
Yeah.
You went through anorexia.
Yeah, which is so weird now, because like people that know me now are like, there's no way you never didn't eat. But I did not eat for like 5 years. I had issues with anorexia because, I mean, anorexia is a disease that genuinely is about control. It's about asserting control of your life. And I felt that I had my life was fine. And then like people took the narrative and decided to determine what the narrative was. You're a victim, or maybe you're a liar. You know, these kids are racist. These kids are this, and just nobody really thought that like you actually ruined all of our lives, right? Like, for a little bit, like these kids went on to have like DUIs and get arrested and got into drugs, and it was because of this outrage.
Because of the pressure of everything that happened.
Yeah, and I was like, would have been totally cool with an apology. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sorry.
Well, good for you for looking at it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard to do because everybody loves when they are allowed to get outraged. Everybody loves to get outraged.
I agree. I can see it from, different sides. Like, if it's something that would have just continuously kept happening, that's a different story. If it happened once, then, I mean, quite frankly, if I would have found out who they were, I would just curse them out. I mean, that's just me, but I mean, you can't go around cursing people out or whatever. But, I can see it from the different ways. In other words.
What they did to you was horrible,
Right.
but I think a lot of kids, especially if they're drinking, they don't even understand how stupid and gross it is what they're doing. They just know they can do it, and they get a thrill out of it. And then there's that mob mentality when there's like a bunch of people together doing the same thing.
Exactly.
And you ramp it up and start saying crazy shit.
It's really understandable when you just like think
Sorry,
about it
y'all,
as a
moving
human
the
being
mic.
and not as somebody who has to have opinion. Like, you're like, hey, we're going to call this black girl, right? You've got a bunch of kids. We're going to just say mean things to her on the phone, and you don't have to look her in the face. Right? It's like if I hold up this pen and I'm like, just say mean stuff, like someone's going to get, you can say anything to this pen. So it's sort of, it was a formative experience that in retrospect, I understand has so much to do with why I am who I am. Because I hated that, like that label obsessed culture and the outrage machine. And then like, oh, okay, we're done. But like, forget the people whose lives we just like.
Now, do you know those people anymore?
I don't. I know like the siblings of them because I was friends. Like that's the thing. Like one of the people that was involved, I was very good friends with his brother. And it's like, you're just going to tell me this kid's like a racist? Like I actually knew the kid's mother, like, and nobody cared. It was just
so you
a
think
hot
that
story.
they weren't necessarily racist,
Just
but they were
stupid.
just stupid and mean and
Did
being
something
shitty
stupid.
kids. And they knew that that was a way that they could scare you.
Right, that they
and
could
freak
just,
you out,
yeah, and they might have been
affect
drunk,
you.
like drunk. Maybe it was their first beer, right? But people
I doubt it.
can do.
17?
Well, the youngest was 14.
Oh, wow.
The youngest, and this person was labeled a racist. Like that's to me is like that's harsh.
Right.
And people say, "Oh, you're too forgiving."
Well, how
but
do you not label them a racist? Because what they said was most certainly racist.
yes, the words are racist, right? Can somebody?
Right.
I guess the question is, can somebody say something, say a word that is racist and not be a racist human being? Yes, I think. No, I'm going to tell you why. Yes, okay.
Okay.
Home is where memories are made.
So I'm a little irritated that they just ended that video like that because I would have loved to know why. Is there like an extended part or part 2? Or am I missing something? Like, what am I missing? If you see my eyeballs roaming around, it's because I'm looking at the different screens. But that was pretty interesting, and to hear, that she was like bullied, and it made her resort to being anorexic for 5 years, and nobody really knew. Like, that was pretty interesting. Like, the more I'm on this journey and the more I react to just Candace, I'm learning more about her. So I don't know, that's just crazy. Like, I don't understand what people get out of harassment. Like, just words is just words, unless words come behind actions. Well, come with action, should I say. But those words are just words, and it's just like, what do you get out of that? It's just a waste of time, waste of breath. I could be saying more positive things with my life. But anyway, guys, I want to know your thoughts. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think, what you want to see on this channel, what you think I should react to. You could drop links or recommendations. Just type them out, or however you guys may choose. If you want to talk, let's talk. It doesn't matter. Don't forget to also thumbs up this video, like it up. Also, guys, if you are not subscribed to my channel, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button and ring that bell so when I drop a new video, you will know, you won't miss it, and you'll be right here. Also, guys, the original video, the link to the original video, should I say, will be listed in the description box down below. So if you guys want to check that out on your own time, you can feel free